Hey everyone, Mike Hidalgo here. Thank you for joining us on another FCP Euro DIY. Today we're going to be working on our 2002 Volkswagen Mk4 GTI. Today we're going to be covering how to replace the cabin air filter in your vehicle. Now typically this is something that people don't really think about too often, and honestly it's really important. It's filtering the air that comes into the cabin of the vehicle, and over time these get pretty gross. They're semi-exposed to the elements depending on where they're located to your car, and as you'll see they can trap a lot of dirt and grime and leaves over time. So you typically want to replace this filter every 40 to 60,000 miles depending on where you live and what kind of climate your vehicle's in. For us, this vehicle, we have no history of when the last time it was done, so we're going to go ahead and hit it with a fresh man filter. You can find these listed on the site. When you're installing this filter, you'll see that they have an arrow, which means they have to go in one specific way. We'll show you that when we get to the car. Before we get started, let's take a look at the tools we're going to need for this job. Lucky for you, they're going to be pretty straightforward. Today, all we're going to need is a Phillips head screwdriver. Now, depending on what hardware is on your car or lack thereof, sometimes they might be equipped with a T25 or a small 8mm hex, depending on what kind of life it's lived. So let's head over to the car and get started on this DIY. To start, we're going to go ahead and remove a little bit of the weather stripping here. That way we can remove this panel easily. And just set that over to the side. And in our case, our vehicle only has 2 fasteners left. We're going to take our Phillips screwdriver and remove those. Might be a good idea to have a vacuum handy here in case you haven't done this in a little while. There might be some nature in here that you need to clean up. You can see we'll clean that up before reinstallation, but that's some of the crud you can expect to see. And then here's a look at our cabin air filter and how it sits. All right, before I go ahead and remove the filter, I don't want to risk dropping anything into the intake, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the vacuum up as much as I can. Then we'll take this old filter out. We'll show you how to position the new one before reinstallation, and then we'll wrap this up. Now the cabin air filter is held on by this upper plastic bracket that kind of sandwiches the filter into place. You're going to have a clip here and a clip here that you're going to want to push towards the front of the vehicle, and then you're going to be able to release this and lift it up. Here's one. Here's the second one. And I have something similar in the back if you can see them. However, it should give us enough room to pull this filter out. It's easier to pull it out with the filter. And before you get too crazy with it, you want to note the orientation of the airflow arrows. In this case, they are pointing down into the cabin of the vehicle. So we'll note that on our reinstallation. As you can see, we have our new cabin air filter in our bracket all cleaned up. A couple things. Again, you want to make sure that the airflow arrows are pointing in the same direction. If for some reason your new filter does not have that, then you can also notice that on the inside of this tray, there is 2 notches that fit into keyed in marks on the new cabin air filter. So another way, so that way you don't mess up the orientation of the filter. When you reinstall this again, you'll notice that on the back you have 3 tabs. These locating tabs are going to mount into the back of the housing, and then you're going to have your 2 clips from earlier that we undid to pull this out. So let's start by lining these 3 tabs in, then we'll clip the front end and wrap this up. That's it, locked in. You can always make sure by trying to lift up on the edge. But we have our 3 tabs in the back and our 2 tabs up front clipped in. With our filter back in, we can go ahead and reinstall our tray and wrap up this cowl. Lining this up can be a little bit tricky sometimes, so just play with it until you get it right. Now make sure this is sealed as best as possible. And then you don't want to forget, you gotta put your weather stripping seal back on. And boom, baby. And there you have it, my good people. Another easy DIY in the books. As easy as this one was, it was super rewarding as it's doing something very important, filtering the air, again, that goes into your vehicle, the air you're breathing every time you drive the car. If you like what you saw in this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments on what we did today, please be sure to leave those in the comment box below. And if you like this DIY and you want to see more like them, please consider subscribing. We make new ones all the time. As always, thank you for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.